Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Allie and today is all about Friends. This is the one where I'm going to be reading like Friends. I have been so excited to tackle this video, but it has been so long overdue. My whole idea was to have this video out around Thanksgiving time, but I feel like it's still a very valid video for me to have up between Thanksgiving and Christmas, just in the holiday season in general, because this is the time of the year where I watch Friends the most. And when I think of Friends and a lot of like my favorite episodes, my comfort episodes, it's always the holiday ones that I come back to, and they're just so much fun. I like that the show was so long series-wise, but we had so many of those holiday episodes that are just perfect to rewatch around the holidays. It has finally made sense to me to make this video because this year, Friends in September turned 30, which is a huge milestone, and the reality creeping up on me that I am only a year younger than Friends. So my big 30 is next year. But Friends has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Some of my early childhood memories is of Friends. Any traumatic things that I had happen in my childhood always correlate with seasons of Friends and what I was watching at that time. And I remember as young as being 5 years old watching Friends and it being one of my favorite shows and falling in love with the cast and the friends then, and it just continued to grow from there and has continued to be such a special part of my life because of being there when times were really hard in my childhood and making that being one of the only things that could really make me happy and make me laugh, and then going into my teenage days and it kind of still doing the same thing. And then when me and my now husband met, he had never really paid attention to Friends or watched Friends, and the night that he asked me to go out with him was the night that I started the series over with him for the first time. So it's always kind of been a big part of our relationship too, as watching Friends and having that in common, being a comfort show of ours that has just continued on. We have decor around our home. We have a lot of different Friends items, and even his office at work has been the Friends theme for the past couple of years. Central Perk, coffee shop vibe. And yeah, it's just something that has always been in my life and has continued. When I'm mad or sad and upset or going through a depressive episode, I always go back to Friends. So with that being said, there will be spoilers for the show Friends. I'm going to be talking about episodes, things that have happened in the show. So if you haven't seen that, you will be spoiled by that. But there will more than likely not be spoilers for the books I will be mentioning. So you'll be okay treading lightly there, but I will throw up a spoiler banner if I am spoiling anything to do with the books, but the show Friends will be spoiled throughout this if you haven't watched it already. So speaking of holidays and being in the holiday season, that's where I kind of want to jump straight in to the fact that Friends always helps me through the holidays because holidays are really hard for me to get through. And Friends has some of the best holiday episodes in my opinion.
Branches and the sacramental wine. All I had is oregano and a fresca. That's okay. 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 All right. Now we need the semen of a righteous man.
Okay, Phoebes, you know what? If we had that, we wouldn't be doing the ritual in the first place.
Decided to have a Halloween party.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and everybody has to wear costumes.
I didn't have to.
Come on, it'll be fun.
Well, I'll be there. I mean, I have to wear a costume to all my classes that day anyway, so.
Please tell me you're not going to dress up like a dinosaur.
Not 2 years in a row.
You picked Ross?
Ross is really strong. He's the strongest out of all three of you. Except for Joey.
I cannot believe you didn't pick me.
In her defense, she's right. I am stronger. I would destroy you.
Oh, really? You think you're stronger? Why don't you prove it?
Oh, I'll prove it. I'll prove it like a theorem.
Wait. 'Cause
brothers grow old, not me.
Fridge broke, so I had to eat everything.
I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes? Joey doesn't share food!
Does he like you? Right? Because if he doesn't like you, this is all a moot point. I look a woman up and down and I say, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
No matter what I do, though, I'm still gonna be a father.
Well, this is still ruined, right?
Hey, look, there's a piece that doesn't have floor on it.
Stick to your side.
Come on now.
All right, what are we having?
Joey, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about
No, but look. Oh, that's gonna leave a stain.
it. Rach, hey, it's fine. You're at Joey's.
Really?
Yeah, look. Yeah,
I've never lived like this before.
I know. All right, well, don't waste it. I mean, it's still food.
Hard to tell in this like layout situation, but I am Joey Tribbiani today and I decided to go with a spooky pick for Joey. I also had to dig through my husband's closet for a flannel. I know that Joey in like the first few seasons, which is kind of where I'm getting a lot of like the style inspo from because those are my favorite seasons, especially like fashion wise for the girls. I love the 90s so much. But yeah, I was looking and I was like, we're just not really sports people. We don't really have sport jerseys or anything like that. So I was like, you know what? He wears like some lighter flannels and this one is a little thick. I'm actually a little toasty in this. We're having like in between weather here in the Midwest, so I'm a little stuffy today while filming this, but I decided to go with a flannel for Joey, just a chill flannel look, and talk to you guys about my scary book that I decided to read for Joey. So I decided on this one. I actually could not figure out where to place this book in a video concept, and I ended up just putting it in my recent 24-hour horror-a-thon video. So you may have already seen a review there, and I'm sorry if this is repetitive because of that. But after sitting down and starting to read this, it was around that time that I was thinking of the concept for this video. And while reading this, I was like, you know, how funny would it be if I read this one for Joey Tribbiani? Because if you're familiar with the show, Joey likes scary books. One of his favorites is The Shining, which he ends up spoiling for Rachel whenever they swap books because she has him reading Little Women and he has her reading The Shining. And he tells her that he likes scary books, but when they get pretty scary, he has to stick them in the freezer. So I decided to go with Incidents Around the House. This is a 2024 release by Josh Malerman. He is the author of Bird Box and what is it? The House Under the Lake, I think is one. I personally really liked Daphne by him. The reason I chose this, besides the fact that it is a horror, spooky book that I think Joey would enjoy and also want to put in the freezer for a little bit because there is some creepy and some terrifying moments in this book. I thought of Joey with this because if you're familiar with the later season, I believe it's season 9, if not even 10, because it's when... yeah, it has to be 10 because it's when Chandler and Monica are looking at houses to buy outside of the city. Spoiler alert if you don't watch Friends. And Joey's already like really in his head about it and really upset because he thinks he's losing his friends who are no longer going to be right across, you know, the hallway in the next apartment. And they go and look at a house and they invite him along with them, and he's kind of like really dogging the house. But Little Dakota Fanning is in this episode when she was much younger, and she talks to Joey and she's like showing him her room and stuff like that. And then later when Joey is back with Chandler, Monica, and the parents, he mentions something about the little girl making him feel better about this whole move and transition in life. And Chandler says, like, what little girl are you talking about? Like, there was a little girl who lived here, but she died many, many years ago. And it's like this joke to like freak Joey out, you know? And so I thought of that when reading this book too, because I was already playing with the concept of this video. And the fact that this book is from the point of view of a little girl who is being haunted and potentially possessed. I just thought that this would be a perfect fit for Joey, and that is why I chose it. I know it's really hard to see, it's a glare. I am borrowing this from my library. But yeah, I really love this. Grady Hendrix says this book is the monster that lives inside your closet. And that's exactly what it is. This follows Bella, who's 8 years old. Her family is her world. There's Mommy, Dado, Grandma Ruth, but there's also other Mommy, a malevolent entity who asks her every day, can I go inside your heart? When horrifying incidents around the house signal that other Mommy is growing tired of asking Bella the question over and over, Bella understands that unless she says yes, her family will soon pay. Other Mommy is getting restless, stronger, bolder. Only the bonds of family can keep Bella safe, but cracks in her parents' marriage are starting to show. The safety Bella relies on is about to unravel, but other Mommy needs an answer. This is such a unique book for me. I feel like I haven't really read anything like this as far as getting a child point of view the whole way through. Honestly, I thought this was going to be a 3-star book, if not a 4-star book, because I was just like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this point of view. But I actually rather enjoyed myself, and I even listened to the audiobook. It was kind of a tandem. The audiobook, now, future Allie versus Allie from the 24-hour Horror-a-thon. I know that I believe the audiobook anyways, hopefully I'm not just pulling this out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure the audiobook is read and narrated by a little girl, which makes a lot more sense. I honestly thought while reading it though, it sounded like an older woman who was making her voice like a little girl, which could still be the case. But I think I've seen somewhere that it is narrated by a little girl, so it makes me feel a little bit better about it, but I will say it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I feel like it's going to be a little annoying for some people to listen to a whole book with a higher pitched little voice. But I did find it pretty creepy and scary in some scenes to have that voice reading it to me. But I did tandem read it. But I think what I had a hard time with reading this one too, this and another book I'm currently reading, it has no quotation marks all the way through it. So sometimes there's a conversation that, you know, is kind of going back and forth between characters, but instead of like pausing and saying like Dado said or Mommy said or whatever, it's just literally their dialogue. So it was a little bit easier to listen to the audio because even if it is a little girl, she does change her voice for the characters, so you could kind of follow along the dialogue a little better. In some instances, some weren't bad, but yeah, really creepy, really eerie. I highly recommend this because with all of those things in mind, with the direction it was going, I like possession stories, but I felt like since this was a little girl's point of view, it wasn't going to get as horrifying as I wanted it to, but it does. I don't know, I just got this weird vibe from it when I first started reading it that I was like, that's gonna be 3-4 stars at most. But they really kicked it up a notch, and although there is some really uncomfortable scenes in this, some uncomfortable conversations in this, I kind of liked how it brought it all together, almost like your real life horror into a horror story on top of that. So you have kind of all those elements. It's kind of like ripping off the band-aid of the horror that you're trying to keep hidden and secret. And there was definitely questionable moments for me where I was just like, oh, I don't know if I like this or not. But the more it went on and tied together the way it did, I actually, at the end, was like, I think this is a 5-star, and I was so questioning myself in the 24-hour horror-a-thon, but I can confidently say now that I did give this a 5-star. If you follow me on Goodreads, you would have seen that. I really enjoyed it, and again, I think, even after finishing it, I think it was an excellent choice for Joey Tribbiani. I think he would enjoy this book and probably put it in his freezer a few times. And it wasn't until my recent rewatch of Friends that I realized me and Monica have the same glassware. I actually got this from my great-grandma's house after she passed. This was one of the things I inherited from her, as well as many dishes that were probably from the 90s. But I just thought it was so cool seeing Monica and Rachel both use this glassware set this time around watching.
I mean, isn't that just kick you in the crotch, spit on your neck fantastic?
I mean, just a little in high school, but then I really got into it in college. I mean, that's when I really found my sound.
Read the card.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Grandma! It's better to be over the hill than buried under it. All I love, Monica and Chandler, that's funny.
No, that was a joke.
No, I know, I get it, it's funny.
No, because you're not a grandmother.
No, I know, because to be a grandmother, you have to be married and have children, and I don't have any of those things. That's why it's so funny.
All you had to do was buy the card.
All of my life, everyone has always told me, you're a shoe. And then today I just stopped and I said, what if I don't want to be a shoe? I mean, isn't that just kick you in the crotch, spit on your neck fantastic?
Who's FICA? Why is he getting all my money? Everyone I know is either getting married or getting pregnant or getting promoted, and I'm getting coffee. And it's not even for me. Oh, he's a trans monster! I think that's the best news I've heard since LeBoo died. He wasn't supposed to put beef in the trifle.
Okay, no uterus, no opinion.
Oh my God, that is the best cheesecake I've ever had. Where did you get this?
It was at the front door when I got home. Somebody sent it to us.
Chandler, this is not addressed to you. This is addressed to Mrs. Braverman downstairs. Thief.
How do you expect me to grow if you won't let me blow?
Guys, it's really hard for you to see my outfit once again since I don't have a super wide angle lens. So you guys will see my outfit. This is inspired by Rachel Green. I liked in the first season how many layers and stuff like that she would wear, but then at the same time, some of my favorite outfits from hers is when she would just wear a black dress, black tights, black high heels, and then that was it. Like those outfits, oh, everything that I loved with her style. But I did decide to go a little bit 90s with the skirt option. Has a little bit of like a florally print. It's almost like a skirt you would see on like Practical Magic or other 90s movies like that. But I think paired with this long sleeve and, you know, tank top situation, it reminded me of this outfit from Rachel. So it's kind of the inspo there too. Yeah, this is my Rachel Green look. And for Rachel Green, you guys, I read Ripe. This is by Sarah Rose Etter. I'm gonna tread lightly here because although I do stand by the fact that I do think that this is a book for Rachel Green, I think Rachel Green would be able to get a lot out of this and relate to a lot of it in a sense of being a female in a new big city and having to figure everything out on your own. Sure, Rachel in the show has friends to lean on, and Monica to stay with, where our character in here, Cassie, is just kind of on her own. But we see her deal with a lot of elements that I feel like the character Rachel Green really deals with, especially in the beginning episodes and seasons of Friends, while also saying this book is super, super triggering. So check your triggers. There's a lot that goes on in this book. There is a lot of elements of this book that Rachel Green does not go through. But the elements that really stood out for me when choosing this book was the fact that it says, a year into her dream job at a cutthroat Silicon Valley startup, Cassie finds herself trapped in a corporate nightmare. Between the long hours, toxic bosses, and unethical projects, she also struggles to reconcile the glittering promise of a city where obscene wealth lives alongside abject poverty and suffering. Ivy League grads complain about the snack selection from the conference room with the view of the unhoused people bathing in the bay. Startup burnouts leap into the paths of commuter trains, and men literally set themselves on fire in the streets. Though isolated, Cassie is never alone. From her earliest memory, a miniature black hole has been her constant companion. It feeds on her depression and anxiety, growing or shrinking in relation to her distress. The black hole watches, but it also waits. Its relentless pull draws Cassie ever closer as the world around her unravels. When she ends up unexpectedly pregnant at the same time her CEO's demands cross into illegal territory, Cassie must decide whether the tempting fruits of Silicon Valley are really worth it. Sharp but vulnerable, unsettling yet darkly comic, Wright portrays one millennial woman's journey through our late capitalist hellscape and offers a brilliantly incisive look at the absurdities of modern life. That's not enough to, like, turn you away from it. It is a very depressing book. It's a lot of depressing elements, but it's so close to reality in a way of thinking like this is so many people's realities. So many women can relate with this, and that's the just horrible, sad part about it. The parts of this book that I felt like reminded me of Rachel Green, girl in a new city, kind of feeling like she's out on her own. She doesn't really have the best relationship with her parents anymore. They're kind of just like a you need to fend for yourself type of ordeal, and she's trying to become successful, trying to climb up the chain in her career, and feeling like a lot of the time it's not going anywhere, and she's really struggling with that. And I think the other big element of this book that I liked was anytime I looked up stories that Rachel Green would read, it just gave me a bunch of nonfiction feminist books because of episodes where she's reading feminist books.
How do you expect me to grow if you won't let me blow?
So I felt like this would be a really good modern take on a lot of those elements that women face today, and I think Rachel Green today would enjoy a story like this about other women's struggles, and then wanting to turn around and be like, this isn't fair, like just like she did in the show. Well, Friends didn't really touch a whole lot on anxiety and depression and other things as such. I do feel like definitely a main plot point for this, as this black hole is following Cassie, so that is going to kind of steer you out of the Friends direction that usually is super bubbly and fun and a comedy relief, where this is very deep and dark. Maybe not the best pick for Rachel Green for my Friends video, but at the same time I feel like this main character does have some in common with Rachel, where I feel like Rachel would be able to relate with her in some of those aspects, even getting pregnant unexpectedly in her life. And there's just so many elements that did remind me of Rachel, while so many other ones touch so much on the feminist side of things, female in the workplace, those type of aspects that I think Rachel Green would have enjoyed reading as well. I personally landed at a 4-star with this one. I'm not gonna lie, I had a really hard time getting through this story, for sure. It's very sad girl literary fiction, so beware. We're back on the holiday bandwagon here with Friends because I love Halloween. Halloween's my favorite, but I have to say my favorite Friends episodes, I think holiday-wise, will always be Thanksgiving for me, and it's now become a routine. We have our Thanksgiving traditions every year. It's just us, and we feast, and then we all sit around and watch Friends and do puzzles and different activities like that. But we always do a Friends marathon of the Thanksgiving episodes, and I think it's a tradition we'll keep forever.
There you go! I did it! 1 mile on a hippity hop. That's it! That's everything I wanted to do before I was 30. Oh, except I wanted to patch things up with my sister. Oh well, but yay! And girls, this thing is a godsend, if you know what I mean. Woo! 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 Little tiny Tarzan swinging on a nose hair, swinging with the greatest of ease. Darn it, I don't know how to get to the next verse.
Well, you can just go, greatest of ease, ba-ma-na-ma-na-ma, and then go right into it.
Yeah, ooh, I like that. Yeah. Wait, how do you know about banana?
Well, you know, I used to play.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The keyboards, huh? For God's sake, Judy, pick up the song! Pick up the song! Pick up the song! What do you want from me? Mark, I can't do it like this! I just wanted a simple wedding where my fiancé can go to the bathroom anytime he wants! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Angel!
Back with another look and another book. Can you guys maybe guess who? I am wearing a long, like it goes all the way to the floor skirt. I have not worn this in so long. I actually wore it for one of my maternity pictures like back in the day. It's just very vibrant and colorful, and I have it pulled up to look more like a dress because I love this little like corset like top, but it's so long that even pulled all the way up here on me being so short, it drags the ground. But going through my closet, this was going to be the best look that I had for Phoebe. And going into Phoebe's read, I chose one that's been on my TBR for a while. If you're new to my channel, then you probably don't know, but if you've been around, you know I am a huge Alice Hoffman fan. I just eat up her work, and I know that there is people who love her books like Practical Magic, but maybe not so much her other ones. But her writing is just so beautiful to me and so relaxing. It's such a cozy read, and whenever I get in that mindset of wanting to just cozy up, especially in like the colder months or when holiday season starts hitting, or even when I'm just feeling kind of sad and I just want a cozy read, I love Alice Hoffman. I love the Practical Magic series so much, but I got this one when it came out, still had not read it. So it was the perfect time because when I think of Phoebe, I think of her as a very fun-spirited person. I think that there is so many books out there that Phoebe would read. She is definitely a I'll try everything once type of gal, but I think at her core, I still see her as a fun, witchy type of person who, in a moment of seriousness and everything that she's been with, I think that she would really appreciate a good Alice Hoffman book, whether it's this one or whether it's any other Alice Hoffman books, because while Alice Hoffman does write books that usually have some type of like meaning, I feel like a lot of the Practical Magic is just strong women. who are going through some tragic things in their lives. And she adds a little fun twist of making it a little bit spicy and making it a little more interesting and fun, but also she adds so much witchy knowledge and stuff to it that I just think Phoebe would have such a good time with any of her books. And I see Phoebe as such a strong, independent woman who really is vibrant in those aspects throughout the series. Anyways, I think that she would have a really good time with this. I know some people didn't really care for this because it has Nathaniel Hawthorne in it, and so it does kind of read a little bit like a fanfic, but at the same time, I just really enjoyed it. I think her writing style is still there that I enjoy with her other books. I feel like there was enough witchy elements in this to make it fun, and at the end of the day, it had really good, strong meanings to it with Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter. I feel like this is almost like a retelling of it in a way, but definitely more fanfic style because we follow a couple of girls, one who was raised in a really strict home and she just wants to be out. She wants to be able to be herself and to live the life she wants to, but then she ultimately finds herself almost in a cult-like situation when she runs away from home. So it doesn't really make her life too much better. And from there, her goal is to raise her daughter to break those barriers and to be that strong woman in the end. And I really loved it. I thought it was such a good read. I want to say I actually landed at 5 stars with this, or a very high 4, but I think Phoebe would really like this one. And like I said, any Alice Hoffman books I think would be pretty enjoyable for her. Life is better with friends. There are many kinds of friends. Monica is the foodie friend. Chandler is the funny friend. Ross is the dynamic friend. Rachel is the fashionable friend. Phoebe is the free-spirited friend. And Joey is the famous friend. These 6 pals all know life is so much better with friends. This is definitely a children's book, but when my husband seen this, he couldn't pass it up and he had to get it for me. And I just think it is so freaking adorable. I would show you guys this bench I recovered a while ago. Since we have our Christmas tree on our stairs, this is currently not on our stairs where it was before. I think I'm going to end up putting it in this hallway. Everything's a mess still. Like our downstairs basement is still kind of like the storage and like unpacking zone. Holidays have just delayed me on finishing, but we have our rabbits down there, but we think we're gonna bring them back to the family room and then just have like our friends along that wall and then like have decor, those like pictures that I have on the stairs up there. But yeah, this is the friends bench that I recovered a while ago. And just a cute little bench to have in a hallway and to sit on and read or whatever. But I love it. I think it's so cute and I'd like to get more use out of it. And now we're gonna play a quick round of what is your Chandler quote, or as IG Central Perk source has the signs as Chandler being one-liners. I am going to have all the creative people behind so many things I'm sharing in this video in my description, so make sure you go check them out, especially if you are huge Friends fans. You'll love their Instagram pages. If you're Aries, you are, I'm hopeless and awkward and desperate for love. Nice camouflage. For a minute, I almost didn't see you. Pants, like shorts, but longer. I say more dumb things before 9 a.m. than most people say all day. I'm not great at the advice. Can I interest you in a sarcastic comment? Tell them to email me at www.hahanotsomuch.com. You know, I think I don't care. Hi, I'm Chandler. I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable. which I feel that one in my core, but my Sagittarius sun is definitely, oh, that makes me feel so warm in my hollow tin chest. I took the quiz and it turns out I do put career before men. Pressing my third nipple opens the delivery entrance to the magical land of Narnia. And step away from that duck. You'll have to let me know in the comments what your sign is and what your one-liner is.
And now Chandler. We're all getting so old. Why are you doing this to us?
Well, go over to her. She's not with anyone.
Oh, yeah, right. And what would my opening line be? Excuse me.
Come on, she's a person. You can do it.
Oh, please, could she be more out of my league? Ross, back me up here.
You can never get a woman like that in a million years.
Thank you, buddy.
It's not just that. It's just I want someone who does something for me, you know, who gets my heart pounding, who makes me,
Little playthings with yarn?
What?
Could you want her more?
Who?
Dee, the sarcastic sister from What's Happened.
Oh, I am very in.
Chandler?
Couldn't be more out.
Me too.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, they even do you.
They do me?
You know, like, okay, could that report be any later?
I don't sound like that.
Oh, Chandler.
Yeah, you do.
The hills are alive with the sound of music. My scone! My scone!
Okay, I don't sound like that. That is so not true. That is so not. Oh, shut up! Kick, save, and denied.
But he gets it back. Pass to the middle, lines it up, and bam! Yes!
Could that shot be any prettier?
Okay, buddy boy, here it is. You hide my clothes, I'm wearing everything you own.
Oh my God! That is so not the opposite of taking somebody's underwear.
Look at me, I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes? Maybe if I wasn't going commando.
Huh? Wow, really? We got all this rusty crap for free?
Uh-huh. This and a bunch of bubble wrap, and some of it is not even popped.
Could we be more white trash?
It's a typical New York City apartment. Two guys are hanging out. Ross?
Hey, man.
What is up?
About yesterday. I was really wrong. I am sorry.
No, it was me. I'm sorry. I overreacted.
Maybe it was both of us, but we had our best friend's interest at heart.
Could I be more sorry?
Could I be any cozier? I am chilling out and snuggled in on the couch tonight, and I thought it was much needed, since it's so long overdue, to finally sit down and talk to you guys about my Chandler Bing pick. I feel like this one will be a little unexpected because I feel like even myself, when I think about Chandler Bing, I think about maybe books written by comedians, you know? Maybe he wants to learn some more jokes, or maybe he just wants to hear about other people's struggles and how they use humor to cope and manage the day-to-day life like Chandler does. And there is so many out there. I see Chandler reading memoirs. I see Chandler reading maybe something to do with his job that we never have figured out what that is. And although I don't pick favorites with friends, but Chandler's always had a special place in my heart because I too cope with humor. But I am not a memoir reader. I am not usually a nonfiction girly in general, unless it's something very dark, unsettling, like true crime, or just like really weird, strange facts. So with that being said, I've put it off for far too long, and I thought it was time that I finally listened to Matthew Perry's memoir. It is called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I did choose to go audiobook with this one because it is narrated by Matthew Perry himself. And while I don't think Chandler Bing would be reading his own book, I don't see Chandler writing a story about himself in general, but I don't think he would want to read it about his life. And not sure that Matthew Perry would either, but I love that Matthew Perry shared that with us before his unfortunate and just devastating death that I know has hurt so many of his loved ones and friends in general, and colleagues, friends from the past, as much as the community of friends, lovers like myself. I still, to this day, am still jarred by it. Every once in a while, I'll think like, oh my gosh, Matthew Perry's not with us anymore. And I feel like it's been one of the first celebrity deaths that has jarred me in that way. Knowing that they're just people too, but he, just like the other actors of Friends, as I have mentioned, have been such a huge part of my life, my childhood, and have really helped me in so many ways with my mental health and being that comfort show for me to go to. So was still like a hard one for me to, you know, wrap my head around. So in a moment like this, I'm going to take his book as a little gift that he left behind eerily just a year before his passing. And I think that that is, in a way, a beautiful gift to leave with these circumstances. I could go on and on about all of the strange things that had to do with his end of his life and everything that people have said and posted, and even now how the story has unraveled. But that is not what I'm here to do. I am going to be talking about his memoir and tell you guys my thoughts on it. I was actually listening to this when I was moving, and probably not the best time because it's taken me close to 2 months now to record this, because it just settled in me for so long that I needed the time to kind of simmer on it before I talked about it. It's a very emotional book. Yes, he talks about the Friends days, and I thought that there was so many moments and like little behind the scene things that he mentions that's super cool for a Friends lover like myself. But I also loved all of the just life stories from him, his life before Friends, how it changed his life, movies in the future, and not just that, but like all of the things going on in his life IRL when he wasn't in front of a camera. And this involved past relationships, friendships, and, you know, the tea. He really does give you all the tea. I love that he leaves so many little stories of this like vulnerability of sharing all of this stuff, from his relationship with Julia Roberts and how, you know, she was asked to guest star, and this was back when Friends was just a thing, but it was blowing up and everybody knew it was big and they were getting guest stars left and right, and she was like, you know what, the only way I'm going to guest star is if my scene has to do with Chandler Bing, and how that was such an uplifting thing for him and what he needed at that time, and how then fans wondered how the chemistry was so strong between them and how it was just acting, and he's like, it wasn't, like we were in love. And he goes into their story, which is so beautiful but tragic, and his love life in general being so tragic. And we also have all the coming of age bits with him, talking about his childhood, his relationship with his parents, and all the things that he had to go through when he was very young that made him grow up very fast. And of course, moments with friends where he confesses that he always had a thing for Jennifer Aniston, and he's always thanked Courtney Cox for dating somebody like him on a show and showing that someone as beautiful and as talented as her would be with somebody like him, which I just thought was so sweet. The thank yous and like acknowledgments to the cast was just so beautiful. And I think that's the most beautiful thing when it comes to Friends, is how over the years, being on a show together for that long, like I feel like you know it was real and it was beautiful friendships because they all stayed on. We don't have people leaving the show and like new actors taking their place like some long running shows. I feel like that kind of showed the true colors of things, but it's just so cool to see all of their different perspectives of the show and how much they cared for each other and how there wasn't like this bad energy with anybody, and they really were best friends outside of the show. They ate lunch together every day and they cared about each other. He talks about his struggles, of course, with alcohol and substances and all of that, and very jarring at times, realizing that some of my favorite seasons of Friends was some of the lowest points in his life, and just how sad that is, and the amount of substances that he was consuming to get by day to day was just mind-blowing. And then knowing about how much the rest of the cast really felt for him and wanted to get him help and could tell when he was going downhill, and helping in between scenes just to help him stay present and in character. Mine was just blown so many times. But I feel like the core of this book though is really expressing his trauma, going through it, and while sure it's really depressing or sad at times, at the same time there's, you know, little quirky stories where he's making jokes about certain actors that have, you know, pissed him off, and how he's had little, you know, run-ins with them, all the way to also just weird little stories about dating a girl and it not going very well, then down the line dating somebody else and finding out that they're roommates. And he definitely brings the humor into it, and that circles back for me to Chandler being somebody who I think would pick up these kind of books on maybe his favorite actor or his favorite comedian, whether it's hard to read or not, being able to relate with them the same way that I am with Matthew Perry. I feel like our stories are completely different, our lives are completely different, but what I relate with him to my core is having that humor as a coping mechanism to deal with my past trauma the same way that he did with his. And I get it, there is other things that he also used, but at the end of the day, even on his good times of his life where he wasn't abusing drugs and alcohol and that type of ordeal for the coping, he always went back to like the humor, and that just really resonates with me. I felt like it was a really touching read. I'm so glad I finally got to it. An amazing, amazing book. I feel like you will love it if you are a Friends fan, if you've always really cherished the characters and the actors behind them. I think you'll find it really interesting, and there's so much like tea throughout it too that I just think it was a really good time. While I wish I had some good recommendations for you for Chandler, I would say if you're reading like Chandler Bing, pick up a funny book, pick up maybe a book of jokes, pick up comedian that you love book. There's, like I mentioned, so many out there. It's just typically not my go-to type of reads, but Matthew Perry being an actor that I've always really enjoyed his work, I had such a great time with this one. And technically don't really want to rate it because it is a nonfiction and memoir, but if I had to, I would give it a 5-star, obviously. I just feel like it was really well done, and I really wish that we had more years of Matthew Perry to hear more from him and what all he had planned for the future. It's just been a very sad time for Friends fans, and I'm sure his friends and family as well.
I want to thank you all for coming, my family and my friends. Woo! I'd really like to say that I'm, you know what I'd really like to say? I'm drunk! That's right, Mom and Dad! Your little harmonica is hammered! And guess what? I've been drunk before! And I've smoked a cigarette! But you know what? You know what? It's all okay. It's okay because I turned 30 today. And I can do anything I want. Because I am a grown-up. Guys, hurry up. The flight leaves in 4 hours. It could take time to get a taxi. There could be traffic. The plane could leave early. When we get to London, there could be a line at customs. Come on!
6-hour trip to London. That's a lot of Monica.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you for coming. Just a second.
No, let me in.
Phoebe?
Yeah.
Can you hold on just 1 minute?
No, you have to let me in right now.
Are you alone?
Yes.
All right.
I chose to go kind of sleek and more elegant for Monica. I do feel like she wore a lot of black ensembles for the first few seasons at least, and those were always like my favorite looks from her, and so that is what I'm rocking today with this black satin top. I did choose to go a little bit more like 90s with my makeup. I could have went a lot more grunge, especially with like the eyeshadow, but I wanted to keep it toned down too because I feel like her style was never full on, you know, grunge, but I do like the episodes where her eye makeup might have been a little heavier on like the darker shadows, or she wore kind of like a purple, I can't think off the top of my head what episode it is, but there is an episode where she wears a lip color close to this, and I absolutely loved it on her. I thought it was beautiful. So I got inspiration from that, and I had quite the time with Monica Geller because Monica is very particular about her time in general, and I feel like sure you could see her looking up probably more so blog posts for recipes or for cleaning hacks and that type of ordeal. She is a chef, so I do feel like maybe not cookbooks as much as you think, probably some, but I think she has got to a point where she's really good with coming up with recipes that she doesn't need all the cookbooks. So I decided to go more lighthearted, funny with Monica, and I started a book, and I didn't DNF the book. I am still reading that book, but it did not feel like a Monica Geller book. In case you are wondering, it is chocolate, and the whole concept of this book for Monica was, I thought it was really funny. I wanted to read a book that kind of brought in cooking or that type of, you know, concept, and I couldn't really find a whole lot that maybe I hadn't read before. And I seen this one, and it was funny to me because of the mocklet episode where she is really trying to find a job, and the only thing that she's been offered is to use this fake chocolate mocklet to come up with Thanksgiving recipes. And since it is like Thanksgiving time, I just rewatched that episode, and it was just so funny to me. But unfortunately, the book did not turn out going in the direction I wanted to. I think that there's aspects of it that Monica would have loved when it comes down to the main character describing making her chocolate for her bakery and everything that goes into cooking up her different treats and stuff like that. I think Monica would have loved, but if you have read that book or you have watched the movie, you know, well, I can't say because I haven't seen the movie and I'm just reading the book for the first time. It kind of teeters off in a different direction. I think there's aspects that Monica still would love, but for me, at the heart of it, it didn't feel like a Monica Geller book. So I sat it down and I picked up Heartburn. Now, I wish I had a physical, but I do not own this book, and I knew deep down I would not enjoy this book enough to own it personally, and I did try to get a physical from my library, and it unfortunately has not come in yet. The hold has not come in. Maybe it will, and I'll be able to get like a cool picture of all my books together for this video, but I had to go with the audiobook, and I was kind of disappointed in that because I wanted the physical, especially after the only one I didn't have a physical for was Chandler's, because I wanted to listen to Matthew Perry's book. I circled back to this one and was just like, you know, it is what it is, but I was pleasantly surprised because the best aspect of this book, Heartburn by Nora, is it Ephron? Ephron? I should have looked it up before I started this. But let me tell you, she is the mastermind behind Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and Harry Met Sally. So many incredible 90s movies that I loved. You've Got Mail was always a favorite of ours growing up. We watched it all the time. So she's the mastermind behind all of those, screenwriting for those. And that made me so excited to go into this book, but the most exciting aspect of the entire book was the fact that Meryl Streep narrates it. She is just so much fun, and I had a blast listening to this. I flew through it. She's so entertaining with how she does her voice. I feel like she just really got into character and played it so well. We follow Rachel Samstadt, and the synopsis says 7 months into her pregnancy, she discovers that her husband Mark is in love with another woman. The fact that the other woman has a neck as long as an arm and a nose as long as a thumb, and you should see her legs, is no consolation. Food sometimes is, though, since Rachel writes cookbooks for a living. And in between trying to win Mark back and loudly wishing him dead, she offers some of her favorite recipes in Heartburn. And There's a lot to unpack with this one. So I loved that this character not only loves New York City, she lives in an apartment that was from her father. Her father has been ill and she's been taking care of him. So she lives in her father's apartment in New York City. So it just feels like Monica Geller, because I feel like if Monica picked this up and read it, she would relate to that so much and being like, oh my gosh, I live in my grandma's apartment. Another thing that I feel like she would be able to relate to is a little bit of the humor that comes with some of the jokes that this main character has that were actually some of the less problematic. It was kind of more of a, they're a Jew, thank God, or something like that, because we find out that Rachel is also Jewish. So I feel like that's kind of a correlating thing with Monica, to where I feel like she would kind of see herself a little bit in this character. I think Monica could also see herself back in the 90s. Things were different, and not saying that that is okay and that we should just let problematic things slide, but I do feel like there is this sense of this story that Monica would enjoy with how like erratic this woman is, from wanting to get her husband back to being like, I want him dead, I could care less, oh, I could prank him by doing this, I hope this happens to him. That type of like Dixie Chicks, Earl's Gotta Die, that type of humor and mindset, I think Monica to an extent would get some comedic relief from reading something like that. Also the fact that she writes cookbooks. They both love cooking, and they're both very strong female characters. With that being said, this might be a slight spoiler for a certain scene in the book. I kind of just feel like the synopsis gives you the general idea of where this book is going to go. The only parts you're not going to know is how it's going to end and little scenes here and there throughout it. But this book reminded me a lot of the book My Husband, that we're really just inside this woman's head and it's all of her thoughts, and she doesn't really hold back because it is just kind of like her stream of thoughts that we are being told. But this one scene in particular, you can fast forward a bit if you don't want to be spoiled on it. I don't think it's a huge spoiler, but it is something that correlates with Monica. There is a scene where there is somebody in the hospital who is dying, and there is this moment where this character comes back to life, and it reminded me of Monica and Ross Geller and the hospital when they're, I can't remember if they called her Nana or Nana, is passing. And spoiler, if you haven't seen Friends, I'm sure you have watched all of them if you're watching this video, but she comes back to life for a minute and it scares them, and it's just kind of supposed to be this humorous moment, and then she passes. It was that vibe. I literally was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things in this book that correlated with Monica's life too, that she could have resonated with. It would have been something that was like, oh my gosh, you know, that happened to me too. And I feel like she could probably feel for this character and like this character more so than I did. There is a couple other little small things that are not spoilers for this that I wanted to mention that reminded me of Monica. For one, her husband shopping with his new girl at Bloomingdale's was like so appalling to Rachel in this. The fact that the main character is Rachel too, I just think Monica would have laughed at that, since that happened with Julie when she went and shopped with Julie, Ross's girlfriend, and Rachel found out about it, and also that Rachel is her best friend's name. There is also a character, I don't want to spoil anything in case you do pick up this mind-numbing book, but there is a character named Richard, so that was kind of a nod to Monica, I felt like, as well. But it is so mind-numbing at times and so problematic, even from the synopsis calling the lady out on having a long neck and making fun of her. We also have the term crazy being called out at characters. We have the term loony bin used repeatedly. So many insults that were just not okay, which landed me at 2 stars with this book. I can appreciate some humor, but the problematic humor that goes into making fun of appearances and especially women, tearing women down, just never settles well with me. I never enjoy that, so I'm not going to give this book a high rating. While this was definitely not a favorite book for me or in this video whatsoever, I do honestly think it was a pretty good pick for Monica with all of the aspects that were so close to Monica's character in general, but also I feel like just these humorous moments that I think she would have appreciated. Also the cooking moments where we get these recipes throughout the book. I think Monica would have enjoyed that. I think she takes so much in her life so seriously all the time that I feel like a more humorous, comedy-driven book like this, where it might be a little bit of a darker humor, I think would bring a little bit of joy to her in her serious life. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's plenty more out there that are not really my cup of tea books that I pick up and read that you might think are perfect fits for her that don't have, like I said, all the problematic things like this one did. But I could definitely see Monica Geller watching You've Got Mel and Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle. So I do think that I was in a type of direction that Monica would have liked. Another one, for some reason off the top of my head that I'm just now thinking about, is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. It's not problematic. It's a really cute romance book that, you know, I typically don't read or like that much, but I really enjoyed that one. And there is this baking element in that. So I also kind of am thinking of that one off the top of my head and thinking it would be a good pick for Monica as well. So I've had those same DVDs forever. I think they were my dad's, and then they kind of just became me and my sister's because when it was his weekend, we would binge watch them every weekend. And you can tell which ones I've really held on to and taken care of because they were definitely my favorites. I watched season 1, 2, 3, and then for some reason, I think for the longest time we couldn't find 4, so we always skipped it and went to 5. And so it just kind of stuck, and those ended up just being our favorite seasons that we would watch over and over and over again. And I just love them so much. All the time, if I don't have time to start the season over, or there's like a long gap between finishing the end, I always just go back to the beginning because that's the comfort episodes I need. But I can't believe I still have a bunch of those DVD sets. And as I end with Ross, I wanted to take a minute to talk about Ross because I feel like over the years he has become one of the most hated characters on Friends. And let me just say, while I do agree with you to an extent, I think he made a lot of really poor choices and a lot of very questionable things. I also think it's really good to highlight the good things about Ross. The Ross that tried his hardest to accept that his best friend was dating Rachel. The Ross that bought Phoebe a bike and taught her how to ride it after finding out she never had one growing up. The Ross that walked his ex-wife down the aisle even after she broke his heart. The Ross that painted his face in Vegas so Rachel wouldn't be embarrassed. I feel like there's so many negative things to say about Ross, but at the end of the day, I feel like he definitely makes the friend group so much more interesting, and I feel like he does bring a lot of that drama with him and all of his relationships and 3 divorces. It wouldn't be Friends without Ross. And I love in Matthew Perry's book that I think I forgot to mention in the Chandler clip that he really breaks down certain seasons, certain friends were definitely favored more than others. It's about kind of how it was damaging at times because he didn't become like the most favorite one until much later on in the series. But he actually talks about how Ross was like the favorite friend for the first couple of seasons. And I found that so interesting since it's so flip-flopped now. But again, that was another really cool highlight moment of Matthew Perry's book, was him breaking that down of which friend was the most popular during that time, during those seasons.
I can't believe you bought this.
So can I have a ride, Stat?
Hop in. Get ready for the smoothest ride of your life. Still learning. One, two, three, four. You know the song. Sing along. Just follow my lead.
Okay.
Come on, Chandler. All right. Okay. Here we go. All right. Ready? Yeah. Turn. Okay. Turn. Turn.
I don't think we can turn anymore.
I just don't think it's gonna fit.
Oh yeah, it will. Come on, up, 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 up. Up. Yes. Here we go. Pivot. 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 Pivot.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Okay, I don't think it's gonna pivot anymore.
You think?
All right, let's bring it back down and try again. Okay. Oh.
Okay, yeah, I think it's really stuck now.
Can't believe that didn't work.
I know, me neither. I mean, you had a sketch.
Oh, you know what? What did you mean when you said pivot?
Look, Ross is doing his watching TV bit.
No, Joe, I think he's just watching TV.
For my very last friend, I have Ross. Ross' style choices really varied. I feel like the first few seasons we have a lot more dressy clothes, working at the museum and as a paleontologist, but even later, I feel like on in seasons, being a professor, we have dressier clothes, but he definitely, in his personal life, picks some wild cards. From the Frankie Says Relax sleep shirt to the leather pants. I definitely wanted to channel a little bit of like a cozier sweater. This is not a red sweater, but it is still a very cozy sweater that I feel like Ross would wear, maybe not with the leather pants, but I am wearing the leather, well, pleather pants for Ross. And with that, my book pick. Perfect time to read Jurassic Park for the very first time. This is only my second Michael Crichton, and I'm putting it out there right now that I think I'm going to be a huge Michael Crichton fan, and who's seen that coming? I think subconsciously I did, because within the past year I've thrifted so many of his books, so I think I put it out in the universe that I was going to like his work. But a couple months ago, I did my pirate vlog and I read Pirate's Latitude by Michael Crichton, and I really enjoyed that. It was the pirate book I was wanting. So going into Jurassic Park, I have of course seen all the movies, even the Jurassic World movies. I've seen all of them. I'm a dinosaur girl, and I feel like I don't really express that a whole lot, but I love dinosaurs. One of my brothers, my little brothers, was obsessed with Jurassic Park. I'm pretty sure that's where he learned some of his first bad words, he said. But he was obsessed with them. He would watch them all the time, and I feel like since then I've always really liked dinosaurs, and I just think they're so cool. And then My youngest was obsessed with dinosaurs when he was a toddler. He had his 3rd birthday party was dinosaur themed. I made him like a cake that had like the crushed up like Oreos all around it, so it looked like a dirt cake. And then I got really creative with it, and I made my own molds with brown sugar in a pan. I had a bunch of like fossil dinosaur toys that I pressed into the brown sugar molds, and then I poured white almond bark chocolate in them to harden, and then I stuck them around the dirt cake so it looked like they were digging up bones on the cake. Side story, you probably don't care, but it was so cute. I absolutely loved that he was a fan of dinosaurs, and then his toddler room at the time was also dinosaur themed, and I just loved it because my love of dinosaurs kind of was shining through him too. But I cannot tell you why I've put off reading this book for as long as I have, but it felt like I knew what to expect, but at the same time didn't know how different it was going to be. I also have not seen the first Jurassic Park in many, many years, so at the same time, it kind of felt like a huge refresh of my memory. But I have to say, the book and the movie are like neck and neck, I feel like, all the way through. Like, it's very spot on. I feel like, I believe it's Steven Spielberg who did the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But I feel like he stuck very true to the book. The events that happen in this, I feel like he stuck very closely to this. And I'm glad that he did, because it's really cool seeing something that you read come to life like that vividly. And I think the book and the movie both are great. If you don't know, this is about an astonishing technique for recovering and cloning dinosaur DNA has been discovered. Now, one of mankind's most thrilling fantasies has come true. Creatures extinct for eons now roam Jurassic Park with their awesome presence and profound mystery, and all the world can visit them for a price. Until something goes wrong. It is definitely one of those books where if you haven't seen the movie, which you're under a rock, and you go into this book, you might want to go into it more blindly. I feel like it's more fun that way, but I mean, when our main character is called to come and test the safety and, you know, inspect it himself to see how this park is turning out because of safety regulations, that's already a red flag. But upon arrival, not even being told what is going on at this place besides just kind of having an idea that there's going to be a zoo or something, and then him showing up and finding out that people are cloning dinosaur DNA. But it's such a cool concept, such a cool idea. He goes into, which I think Michael Crichton does go a little bit more like sci-fi with some of his other books that I'm honestly, although I'm not a big sci-fi girly, I'm kind of excited for after reading this, because he really breaks down how they got dinosaur DNA and all of the logistics and like the scientists behind it and all of that kind of stuff. And it was really entertaining and cool. I like the way they did it. I also think it's really funny the way they did it with like a little cartoon play-by-play in the movie, but you get all of those details in the book too, and it was done in such an entertaining way that I wasn't bored or, you know, falling asleep with it. But I really, really enjoyed all of those aspects, and I liked the quirkiness of some of the different characters and all the little things that I knew were in the movie but never knew were actually in the book too, and stayed very spot on. But yeah, you go to this park on this island and they're cloning dinosaur DNA. I mean, like, what do you think is going to happen? So I feel like whether you've seen it or, you know, read it, I feel like you kind of get the general idea that the horrors that are going to unfold. But I feel like he really went there with it. Super entertaining. I feel like even if you're like me and you've seen the movie many, many times, I think that you'll enjoy the reread, especially if you haven't watched it in a while. Right after reading it, we did watch it because I wanted to see it again. And I can say this is a 5-star. I am super excited to, is it The Lost World? I think is the second one. never read it, obviously, and I kind of want to see how it is with the other movies. So there may just be a dinosaur vlog coming soon. Back to Ross. I feel like Ross has more than likely read this book. I feel like this is one that he probably keeps on his nightstand and reads often, along with probably like Star Wars and other sci-fi books like that. I feel like he probably also has taste of nonfiction when it comes to other paleontologists, and even talks about in the show people fooling around in front of his book at the library. So you know that he's very aware of the paleontologist section. But for me in general, I did not want to go into that as a guessing game, blindly figuring out if I was going to like a paleontologist nonfiction or a nonfiction book about dinosaurs. The thought of it sounds really interesting and intriguing, but I just don't know if I'm there yet. Maybe if I could get an audiobook for a dinosaur vlog, I might try it. But for this, I wanted to go with something that was a little bit dinosaur, but also fun and adventurous, because we do know the quote-unquote geekier side of Ross, who does like Star Wars and other sci-fi things like that. So I think that he would definitely be a Jurassic Park fan, and probably owns the movies, the books, and has read them many times. Definitely think he would enjoy this. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. It has been a long day trying to get all of this wrapped up and filmed, and just to wrap up this video, it's honestly been a feat in its own. It is taking me months to read these books. And oh my gosh, don't even get me started on how long it's taken me to edit this video, and now to get all of these little pieces together, and my camera just like freaking out on me recently. So it hasn't been that fun of a time towards the end, but I did have so much fun picking out these books for each friend and going down memory lane and seeing and being able to show you guys my friend's collection, and hopefully be able to discuss our mutual love for Friends in the comments. Let me know what books you would read for each friend, or if you have any more recommendations for me after this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you somewhat enjoyed, especially if you are a Friends lover. And yeah, thanks so much. I will see you in my next video.